Hey guys, it's Jack Riddle, back here with the Porky Boys Cooking. Today on the menu is my specialty, beef Burgundy, or as they call it in France, beef bourguignon. And so today, to start off, to prep, you're going to be putting your meat in half of a bottle of red wine to marinate. We've got that happening now. As you can see over here, we have our actual oven heating up to 250 degrees, and our stove top heating up right now for the first parts of what we have to cook. So what we're going to start off with is your bacon. This is the brand and type of bacon we're using today. You can find that in Indiana. And so what you're going to want to do with this bacon, as you can see I've already cut it in half, is you're going to chop it into small cubes, and we're going to be putting it into our Dutch oven. So, this bacon will be acting as kind of the starter of our sauce. And so the way it will happen is by cutting it into these smaller pieces, the grease and fat is going to kind of cook off, and it will create a little bit of like some runoff in the bottom of the Dutch oven. And so we will use that as a flavor. Oops, well, that wasn't supposed to happen, but we'll use it as a flavor enhancer. Alright, so we've got our bacon chopped up and put into our Dutch oven. And so now we're going to transfer this. Also, all of our stuff's going to be going in here, so this is really the only pot you'll need. But we're going to transfer this over to our stove top, and we're going to let this start to brown up. And so as it browns up, the runoff will go into the bottom of the pan, or Dutch oven. And as you constantly stir, it will get mixed up and all the grease will come out. As you can hear, it's starting to fry now, so if you'll follow me over here. Usually when you're frying bacon, you have long strips that you have to keep flipping and everything. But because we've chopped it so small, all we really have to do is keep stirring it around, and it will start to shrivel up into small little, kind of like bacon bits. Cut. So good. Alright everybody, now as our bacon is frying, we're going to start with cutting our vegetables. Now, these are nobody's favorite thing to cut, obviously because you cry. But, everybody, we got to do it, y'all, so we'll just, if I cry, I cry. Don't make fun of me. But first, obviously with an onion, you're going to want to peel it. As you can see, we've got some remnants of peel, so I have to peel this brown layer off. So let's see how easy this is going to be. Well, obviously if you've got nails, it'll go a little quicker. Alright, so we've got the first half of it cut. Eyes are getting a little watery, but that's okay. It's okay to show emotion in the kitchen. It's an art form. Oh. If you get little peels like that, just toss them. It won't really impact the taste. It's just a texture thing. I mean, if you don't mind it, then that's fine. Watch out for your little sausage fingers like mine, because they're real quick to get caught up in that knife. But after you're done cutting, put it all together. Now, as you're cutting intensely on your cutting board and all of a sudden all of it's done now, you can see that they're all in kind of the same small chunks. And so what's going to happen when we put these in the Dutch oven with the carrots and the garlic, it's going to caramelize, and that's just going to add on to the little runoff in the bottom. And let's check on our bacon. So, as you can see, we've added some water to get the runoff off the bottom and turn it into already kind of a slurry. But as our bacon's cooking, we've slowed it down just a little bit to give us more time to cut up vegetables, but also because we want all of that flavor in there. It don't look very good right now, but believe me, it'll get better once this water's out. Now, to start with our carrots, because we're done with our onions, we have these smaller ones so that they'll be easier to cook through. And we're just giving these a rough chop, because they aren't all the same size, so there's really... You just want them to be small enough that they taste good. And if you see any of them that get through, like some of these ones here, you can just throw those back in there to get chopped up. And this isn't the only amount we're doing. This is just a little bit at a time. So you're definitely going to want more carrots in this. Some people will use whole little baby carrots in theirs. Because like I said, at La Relais, I can distinctively remember on top of the beef burgundy, there was one little steamed baby carrot that we were all kind of like, well, we don't know if it's proper decorum to eat it whole or if we're supposed to mix it around or what. And so we all just kind of sat there and finally just ate it whole and didn't tell nobody. It sounds like our bacon is getting pretty ready to be stirred, so let's stop on these for a second. As you can see, our water is starting to evaporate, and this is when the runoff will truly start to begin. And so as our bacon starts to curl up more and it'll start to brown even more, that's when we'll start to get the little crispy bits that we can soon take out. Don't get burned. So now, as we finished chopping about half of a bag of these carrots, what I think I'm going to end up doing is leaving some of these whole just for a little bit extra texture. Obviously, they'll all be the same texture once they're put into this stew, but it'll still just give you a little bit of a difference between them, because when you have everything chopped up like this, it can get a little overlapping. And so, just to increase the culinary experience, we're going to keep these whole. So now, basically what we're waiting on is just for this bacon to stop cooking, and we can take it out, and then we add our beef. What am I doing wrong here? Alright, in this household we only wear one glove. Y'all know what that means. So, right now, our beef has been marinating in our wine, and we're just going to try and mix it around a little bit to get what's on the bottom to the top and what's on the top to the bottom, so everything can kind of get its own turn in this mixture. Let me show y'all my muscles for a second. And so what this will do, this will mean that everything gets a little bit of that flavor, which luckily, if we miss anything, we will be using wine in the cooking anyways, so everything will get a little bit of that taste. It's kind of like digging. It feels like guts. So if you're squeamish, don't do this, but I think that's good for now. And so into our next part, and I think this will be the big draw for this recipe for a few people, is the wine. So what we use here is a red wine, and that's kind of where the name Burgundy comes from, in beef Burgundy. And so the wine we're using today is an aged red from 502 Winery. And so it's got a very deep color, which will go into the color of the actual meal because it would be very dark. But it don't smell that good, but that's also just because my preference. So good. I mean, it definitely has an oaky taste to it. I'm sorry. I just spit everywhere. It's definitely got a little zap to it. So, usually they say to serve the same wine that you use in the meal with the meal. I don't suggest that with this, but that's okay. You can have a soda or water or milk. But so, yes. So, In this right now, it's been marinating. We're waiting on our bacon to finish cooking, which it actually looks like it's about close. And as you can see, in the bottom of our pan, we have the runoff. And so I'll try and get it to where you can see it. But as you can see in the bottom, there's that dark caramelly color. Fond. And this was also called a fond. But as you can see, as our bacon crisps up, it leaves a dark residue on the bottom called the fond. So we're going to get this to finish cooking. And right after this, we will add our meat to brown. And all we're doing is browning it. We're not cooking it yet. Just getting a little sear on it to release the juices on that. And that's where our vegetables come into play. Now what we're doing, now that our bacon's fully cooked, is we're getting the fond off the bottom for extra flavor. So as you can see, it's this rich, kind of caramelly color, and all of that is the good that we want on our meat. There's our bacon draining, and we're going to use half of that in the actual meal. And so, we're going to get our bacon. So, do not just pour this directly in there because you don't want to use that much wine because then it's just gross. You don't want to add all of it, because like we said, we're just browning it for flavor. We don't need all of it browned. So we're going to add it back to the heat, and we'll see how quick this goes. As you can see, it's coating some of the pieces in that residue fond. And it will release its own stuff after a while. We're just going to let that brown up, release some juices to get some flavor in there, and then we'll be ready for our vegetables. Got that good on my mind. Alright, that's it for a second. So now, we're going to take our beef out, and we're ready for our second round of meat. So, as you can see, it is not cooked all the way through at all, but it's browned to where, look at the bottom of the duck. Did you get the bottom of the pan?
All the drippings.
It's hot as hell. What we're cooking here is filet mignon. Alright, everybody, so as you can see, all of our meat is browned, and the runoff in the Dutch oven is very good. So now we're just getting ready for everything that's going to be added into that pot. And so we've got our vegetables, and we've got our whole carrots we're going to be adding. We've got our seasoning blend, which is just herbs. It's rosemary, thyme, and parsley. We have our beef broth. A can of it is fine. A box of it is fine. You don't have to make your own. Everybody's favorite, red wine, half a bottle. A spoonful of garlic. Can of tomato paste. That's all. You can add extra stuff if you want. You can add less stuff if you want. That's just what I do. So, what I say we start with... Okay, that's embarrassing, but hold on. See, I got it. What we're going to start with is our garlic and vegetables. Firstly, we're going to start with our vegetables. So if you follow me over here, we still have all this runoff in here. So we're going to add these. And we'll add a couple of these. That's good. And then we're gonna add this back on the heat. And let it just absorb that flavor. As you can hear, it's already starting. And so these will start to caramelize and brown up, and the carrots will get softer, and everything's just gonna get to where it's palatable in a stew like this. Because you don't want to be eating something that's smooth and then all of a sudden crunch, you're biting on a whole carrot. So let these brown up a little bit, and we can start adding our wet ingredients. So what you're seeing right now is our carrots and onions, garlic and tomato paste all mixed together. So what we're gonna add is this little bouquet of our herbs. And what we're gonna do is add this in. It's tied together because these are big pieces that you don't want. We're gonna add that in, and then first we're gonna add our beef broth. And so this is a whole box of beef broth. Don't be shy. No, I'm not peeing. That's the noise of the beef. And so, after that, we go to our wine. So we've got our half a bottle of wine. Sorry to anybody that wants to drink more of it, but you can't. I know it's so good. Look at that color. So, you can save the bottle, do whatever you want with it. But you're going to give it just a little bit of a mix. And lastly is adding the meat. And so, once that's all kind of mixed, you're going to start to add your meat. And as you can see, it's browned, but I actually, oh my gosh, disregard that. But as you can see, it is browned, but I tried a piece and it is definitely not cooked all the way through. So luckily it will be in this stew and it will get all cooked and delicious and tender. And this will take around 4 hours in the oven. So it does take a minute, but as we add our final touches of our salt and pepper and give it just one last little bit of a mix, it will be ready for the oven at 250 for about 4 hours. There you can see our little bushel of our herbs. We want to get that down in there. And you just want to make sure that it's mixed enough, which obviously you'll mix it once it's pulled out of the oven, but you still just want to mix it so everything can get a little bit of that flavor while it's cooking. And so, as we put our lid on this little adventure we've done today, and it comes to an end, we now will add it to the oven. Now, while our meal is cooking, we've got our Q&A section, and we've got some questions asked by the fans as I polish off this bottle of wine. Our first question is, if you could go back in time, what's one thing you would change? I would probably stick with cross country because I stopped in elementary school and my sister went to middle school. And obviously we see how that turned out. So I'd probably stick with that, and keep with it because I thought I was good. I don't know. I mean, I just came in first place a couple of times, but it's whatever. But maybe just spend more time with people that I know would be gone quicker. My second question is, who is your biggest inspiration? I've got a lot of them, mostly everybody in my family, but if I had to pick a specific type, it would probably be my grandmothers, all three of them. Each of them gave me something different that I use every day, skill-wise, trait-wise, and and a lot of my cooking and social aspects come from them. My favorite movie of all time. I don't know. Hold on, I gotta think on that. So I've had some time to think, and I think I've come to the conclusion that my favorite movie would have to be The Help, because I read the book for a project and then watched the movie, and it's pretty good. Next question is your favorite thing about yourself. I mean, there's just so many of them, it's hard to pick, but I definitely probably have to say my social capacity. How I'm able to kind of go into any situation and either meet people or speak to the people I already know, and I'm never really like, well, I'm nervous to go here or nothing. I think that will help a lot of people later in life, and it's a good trait to learn when you're younger. And finally, an unpopular opinion I have. I guess that I think real vintage fur is better than the faux fur they make now. That's all I can think of. Because the faux fur they make now is all that plastic stuff that's in landfills. And if something, like the coat I have is from the 80s, and I mean, that thing's been gone for probably longer than the 80s. So, well, that's all for our Q&A section. DM me or message me or email me if you've got any more questions for our next cooking episode. But now we just wait for it to finish cooking. Well, everybody, it seems to be ready. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to pull it out nice and gently. And we're going to take the lid off. And we're going to stir. Be gentle, because you don't want to just throw things around. Oh my gosh, it smells so good, y'all. So, as you can see, all of our onions have caramelized. Our meat has gotten tender. We still are going to leave it in chunks. You can add a thickener to this if you prefer. I do not. But, I mean, there you have it. Serve it with nice bread and butter, mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes, whatever you like. I hope you enjoyed.